In this lesson, we are going to learn what a domain name is and help you to choose the domain name that is right for you. So the first question is, what is a domain name? And I have a little screenshot here of the corner of a web browser, and that little address that you see in the upper corner of the web browser, that is a domain name. So for this site, it is the weblaunch.com. For a company like Apple, it is apple.com. So your domain name is your address for your website. It is also the address for your email, but we're not going to be dealing with email in this course. This is really focused on getting your website up and running. So choosing a good domain name. Here are a couple rules that I like to follow when choosing a domain name. The first one is get a .com if you can. There are going to be a lot more available under .net or .org or .me or .info or lots of other things. It's a lot easier if you just do a .com. A lot of people assume that you have .com. So if you give them something else, they sometimes will just type in .com anyway. So you can lose some people. So my recommendation is to get a .com. It's just going to be a lot easier. Next is you want to find a domain that accurately describes your website. So really think about the last two questions of the initial three in the planning worksheet. What is the outcome you are looking for from your website, and what is the outcome that your audience is looking for from your website? So have something that's going to match both of those. It's going to accurately represent what your website is about, and really importantly, what your audience is looking for. Do not use dashes, and there's going to be a couple things not to use, and I'll explain in a second. Do not use numbers unless absolutely necessary, and do not use confusing characters that could have or phrases or words that could have two different spellings, like for, the number for, or the word for, or to, the number to, or the word to, or any other variations of spelling to. And no odd spelling. So this is an odd spelling for windyroad.com. I replaced some letters. It sounds out, it works phonetically, but that's not actually how you spell windy road. And the point of all of these is you want something that somebody can spell if you just tell them it. So if you say my website is windyroad.com, you want them to be able to write it down without you having to explain your odd spelling or that it's the number two instead of the word to. So yeah, you want to be able to say your domain name and have somebody understand it and write it down without you offering any further explanation. So those are some of my recommendations for choosing a good domain name. Now the next part is the issue of using your own name as a domain name. Some of you know that SethLeonard.com is one of the domains, or the primary domain that I use. So I obviously think that is a good idea, or can be a good idea, to use your own name as your domain name. This can also be an exception to some of the spelling rules I have. If you have a name that people cannot necessarily spell right away, that doesn't mean you should not use your name as your domain name if it makes sense to do so. So using your own name as your domain name is great if you are really promoting yourself, your art, something that's really connected to you, and it's really about your brand, your creativity, etc. Something where the production or whatever you are creating and you are really pretty much the same thing. But that doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it. You can also, if you are running a business and you feel like you're going to remain a small business for a while, or that your business is really always going to be centered around you, even if it's just services or something like that, and you're not trying to build something larger, then I think it's a good idea also to use your own domain name, because that's going to offer you flexibility as you move forward. So you can start with one kind of aspect of your business or your services, and you can change that. You can change the title of your business, or the title of your website, or even the focus of your services or the focus of your website, and you can retain the same domain name. You're going to be at the same address. People can still find you, even if you're making changes to what you're offering. So especially early on, if you're not 100% sure kind of where you're going to go, or the route you're going to take, using your own name as a domain name can be a nice way to offer you some flexibility as you progress. And as I said, your address is going to remain the same no matter what you're doing and any changes you make. So Those are some rules and recommendations for selecting the domain name, as well as some thoughts on using your own name as a domain name. And that's it for this lesson. So thanks for following along.